Welcome to the Bismarck Cancer Center podcast. I'm your host, Dana Hager, Education Outreach Coordinator at the Bismarck Cancer Center. In this podcast, we'll share stories of hope, help, and healing, and learn more about the people and technology behind the scenes at the Bismarck Cancer Center. Today's guest is Corina, survivorship nurse and tobacco treatment specialist at the Bismarck Cancer Center. Welcome, Corina.
Thank you.
I am glad you came down to visit with us today. Today we're going to talk about the tobacco program at the Cancer Center, but first, can you give us a little background on what you do?
Sure. I'm an oncology nurse. I've been at Bismarck Cancer Center for about 5 years, and I do survivorship. Basically, what that entails is kind of like creating a medical file for all of our cancer patients. It will have kind of their cancer journey, what brought them to us. We talk a little bit about what's going forward, like for survivorship. And then I do primarily a lot of education, telling them the side effects of radiation, what to do going forward. And also I do a lot of education throughout the facility and outreach, rural areas and that regarding preventative education for preventing cancers.
So getting out in the community and telling them this is what you can do to be healthy and
Correct.
give them some of that peace of mind as they are moving through their lives. So tell me a little bit, you are the leader behind this tobacco program at the Cancer Center. How did this get started, or what brought this around?
Well, I went to a tobacco cessation program through the Mayo Clinic, also offered through North Dakota Department of Health and North Dakota Quits program. And it really was fascinating, just kind of eye-opening of like the amount of tobacco use, and then it also introduced me to the vaping. And so what I saw was a huge need for our cancer patients of being able to educate them and actually starting to start a tobacco cessation program so that they could quit smoking, because we know that with smoking during treatments, such as chemotherapy and radiation, it actually enables that effectiveness of those programs. And so what happens is it reduces or it increases the risk of recurrence and things like that. So really just kind of incorporating a new tobacco cessation program for our cancer patients, really working on ways to quit, to cut down, to quit for good.
So prior to you taking these classes and going to this stuff, there was nothing offered at the Cancer Center?
We just offered them the North Dakota Quit program, just the flyer. And a lot of people just, like anytime that you get a flyer, sometimes they just didn't really want to engage with that and call them. And so here I'm able to actually walk up to the patient and say, hey, this is a program we offer. Would you be interested in wanting to quit or even cutting down, and just kind of start that dialogue with them.
Which has to help a ton, that having someone come up to you and say, hey, I care, is there something I can do to help you?
Right, absolutely.
You mentioned vaping, and I want to get back to that because that's such a hot topic right now. But before that, so how do you approach the tobacco cessation program with patients?
Okay.
Is that an interesting
It is.
path?
Actually, all the doctors are aware of as well, and so whether a patient meets with their primary care physician, the radiation oncologist, or nurses throughout any of their health life history, they're encouraged to quit. Well, one of the things is that they're actually going through treatment anywhere from 2 weeks to 9 weeks with us. So I have that opportunity to see them almost on a daily basis, but I try to meet with them once a week. And I just say, is this something that you're considering doing? If so, can I help you with that journey?
And just sometimes just having somebody there to say, can I help you, might just be the push that
Absolutely.
somebody needs to quit.
Absolutely.
What if I am a spouse that's in there? Will you help the spouse quit too? Because sometimes, couples are smoking. It's probably not very fair if one quits and the other doesn't.
Right, absolutely. And we know that, that codependence, your caretaker, your caregiver, all of that, them being supportive in that way as well, really helps both of them to quit.
Excellent. What a perfect time for someone to quit when you're going through treatment. Like you said, it can cause reoccurrence. It can, you can have troubles throughout your treatment. So this might just be the time to take that step and quit.
Yeah. And we know that with especially a lot of the chemotherapies and medications that with continued smoking, it actually makes their nausea and vomiting much worse.
Ooh.
So
That might be
Better drink,
that might be a chip right there just to help that help. So wonderful service for your patients. I want to swing back and talk about vaping for just a little bit. We hear it in the news. We see stories about it. It's a huge topic right now. How much of a problem do you think this is? And is it here? We're in North Dakota. Is it here in North Dakota? Is this something we all need to be aware of?
It's national. And yes, we see a lot of it in North Dakota as well. North Dakota Department of Health sends me information, new research, just new data coming up all of the time. And parents are becoming more aware of because these vapes look so disguisable, people don't know that their kids have vapes until I start showing them some pictures of things like, that's what that is.
So what do they look like? So
they look like a flash drive. Some of them look like those little Mios. Some of them look like whiteout, markers, highlighters.
So not at all
pens.
what you would think of a...
No, it doesn't look like a cigarette anymore.
A cigarette product. And do you consider vapes tobacco products?
Yes and no. They actually do not contain any tobacco. They contain nicotine, which is derived from the tobacco, but they cover so many other harsh chemicals and stuff like that. Tobacco is bad, but the vapes are even worse due to the fact that they have all these different flavors, which are enticing to a lot of youth. But then they also have heavy metals. They have known carcinogens. And the problem with it is that typically a smoker, you would see that after they smoked 10, 20 years, they would have some kind of a lung injury.
Sure.
Well, with vapes, they're starting to see that within 6 months to 1 year, they're seeing lung injuries. Right now, as of February of 2020 here, there was already 2,800 known cases of severe lung injury just due to vapes.
Right here?
Nationally.
Oh, national. Okay.
In North Dakota, 20.
Oh, my goodness.
That have been
So
confirmed.
it's not something, I'll just smoke for a little bit.
No.
It could be that first
Right.
little bit of time that you're vaping.
And COVID kind of pulled into things as well. So, I mean, they're seeing actually 60 cases, but 20 have only been confirmed to be truly from the vapes. There's a lot of other lung injuries that are going on with the COVID. But so we are seeing it nationally, but we are also seeing a lot of it in North Dakota.
That's
as
scary.
Well. Very scary.
So if there was one thing you wanted someone to know before they started vaping, let's say maybe you're talking to a group of kids or maybe a nephew or someone you know, what's that one thing you would want them to know before they tried it?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people will say to me, well, tobacco is really bad, cigarettes are bad. There's 7,000 different carcinogens or 7,000 different chemicals with 70 known carcinogens, meaning causing cancer. Well, the e-cigarettes or the vapes, there's so much that's unknown about it. And so actually, we're seeing these lung injuries due to the fact of the flavors. There's heavy metals such as lead, arsenic, formaldehyde, diacetyl, which are causing popcorn lung. And because there's so much that's unknown about it, it's kind of like doing a chemistry experiment in your lungs. And so it's kind of like, well, there's just too many unknowns with it. It's not a safe alternative to quitting smoking, and it's not a safe alternative for young people. The other thing with the nicotine part of it, it's not regulated. So the nicotine component in there can be anywhere from 2 to 3 cigarettes all the way up to a pack, even some of them known as 9 packs of cigarettes per pod, which would be equivalent to about a pack of cigarettes.
And that nicotine, is that the addictive side
Nicotine
of it?
is the addictive part of it. That's kind of the drug in a sense. That's the part that kind of hijacks the brain and telling that it feels great and it's awesome.
That keeps you coming back
Keeps
for
you coming
more.
back.
Yep.
And with the youth, that makes it so difficult is that it actually is considered to be like a gateway drug to other type of substance abuses along the way, along with a lot of times they'll find that people vape and do cigarettes and then leads them into heavy drugs and alcohol as well. And they're starting as young as in that middle school age. And so the one thing with the cigarettes is that, you know, they we don't see that lung injury for quite a while later. We're actually seeing that lung injury very early into those 20s. The median age of those lung injuries that I mentioned before is at the age of 24.
And like you said, you don't know the long-term effects of this or what that's going to look like for these people 20 plus more years down the road, which is so scary. So what is the Bismarck Cancer Center doing to help this issue?
So what I do is I offer free tobacco cessation with the patients and their spouse too if they want to join in. I meet with them one-on-one. We talk about habits and behaviors. We talk about goals. We work with nicotine replacement therapy so that they don't have like the withdrawal and anxiousness and everything going through with it. And then working forward of like how to stay quit, basically. So I offer my services free. It's part of that survivorship for the patients. I meet with them as long as they want to meet with me. I kind of check up on them even after they're done with treatment. And then I like to also offer for group settings as well, just talking about, you know, tobacco, vapes. I like to go out in the community as well and talk to them about what some of those health risks can be associated with those.
Sure. And you also do a little bit of work in schools. I think I've heard rumors that you spoke to thousands of kids this year or something like that.
Thousands, and I don't like public speaking.
But you're actually going into schools and talking about these risks with them.
Absolutely.
Just touch base on that a little bit.
So 2019 and 2020, I went to several schools, both middle school and high school, just talking to them about what some of the what's basically in the vapes and e-cigarettes, what health problems it presents, things to kind of watch for as far as, you know, because it's really vague type of symptoms, such as cough, nausea, upset stomach. It's very generalized, but those can be from some of the heavy metals. I also talk about the environment, the cost to them, detrimental things as far as like not only their lungs, but their skin and their teeth as well. Just trying to really making them more aware of what it's all about and what it could possibly cause some problems with later on in life.
Absolutely, and make them think maybe a little bit beyond, oh, it's not a big deal. It tastes like strawberries or whatever the flavor
really
is.
Cool to do.
And it sounds like they look cool because they can be in any shape or form. So it's nice that you're going out and educating, or at least making them aware, and making the teachers aware maybe even too.
Right.
Maybe the teachers aren't even aware of some of these.
The pictures of them, they're like, oh, I would have never known that that's what that is, because they look like a flash drive. They look like a little piece off of a computer. They're very discreet.
Awesome. So if people are interested in having you come to the school, the Bismarck Cancer Center is available for a speakers bureau, and they can contact you. You'd come out and share all this information with them, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
And you would love every minute of it.
I do. I love groups. I just don't like one-on-one.
Well, I'm glad you're here with me today. And I'm so happy you took time to sit down with us and share. This is such an important topic, and this information that you're sharing is really important. So thank you so much for sharing that, not only with us here, but with the patients at the Cancer Center too.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for listening to the Bismarck Cancer Center podcast. Subscribe to hear new episodes anywhere podcasts are found, and connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or bismarckcancercenter.com. We'll talk again next time on the Bismarck Cancer Center podcast.